Hello and welcome to the seventh grade move up meeting for the class of 2026. I know this is a little unusual to do this remotely, but I'm glad you're all flexible and I'm also glad you're with us. I wanted to share some features about the presentation before we get into it, and that's that this is being hosted on YouTube. And if you want to open it in YouTube, you'll be able to scroll ahead and look at the description for minute markers and links to jump ahead to different sections. So if there's something that doesn't pertain to you, or you want to go back to something or go skip ahead, you can use those links and enjoy. When we put this presentation together, we had parents in mind, but I know a lot of students will be watching too. So, hey, students, we miss you. Hope you're doing okay. And keep sending those pictures and videos. They're fun. In a few minutes, I'm going to hand things off to my colleagues to share their experiences in the middle school and seventh grade. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit more generally about what seventh grade is like. Overall, seventh grade is a great time to be alive and fun time to be a parent too, although it does have its challenges. When we're talking about seventh grade, we're really talking about the beginning of adolescence. And with adolescence, kind of define that as the start of puberty, actually. And there are some significant changes and developments there, primarily in um, intellectual, emotional, and physical changes. And these changes are really profound. In fact, the only 3-year period with more profound changes in development is from birth to age 3. So you think about all those changes and all those developments that happen from your kids when they were just learning to walk, learning to speak, learning to listen and understand language. And that same level of change is what's going on in your seventh grader, or starting to go on in your seventh grader. Only a lot of these changes, besides the growth spurts, are really difficult to see on the outside. So when it comes to intellectual development, when you think about seventh graders and you think about adolescents, we're really talking about the ability to think more abstractly, to be able to produce and interpret more complex ideas, and really to infer meaning, and go from a direct, concrete delivery and interpreting of information to now being able to see the nuance in things. Putting aside the development and the growth in terms of physical and hormonal and um, intellectual, when I think about the changes in seventh grade, I think the primary change and milestone is the real beginning of trying to establish yourself as an individual and trying to make your own way in the world, and be recognized for what you do and what you want to be recognized for. So on one hand, it's a based from your core. It's an inner conversation with yourself about who you want to be and what you want to stand for and your values. But at the same time, you're really dependent on your peers and other members of your tribe, so to speak. Um, and you're looking for their recognition that you've have something to offer. So thinking about all these changes that are going on in kids in during the middle of the years, and really the pivotal sixth to seventh to eighth grade years, all those changes are what makes it exciting to be a middle school teacher and a seventh grade teacher. So we're lucky that we've got a lot of folks here who found that this is their place and this is where they want to be. It's also a really good time to be a parent, although there are a lot of challenges that some of these new developments bring with it. So I don't know if you've experienced this, but one of the challenges of having an adolescent is now that they can think more abstractly and in a more complex way, they can also form, I guess, they're more sarcastic and they think they're being clever, and maybe they are, but that's just part of the flip side of having that intellectual development. Another challenge of being a seventh grader is that while you're trying to establish yourself and your own identity, to your parents, to yourself, to your peers, you are hyper aware of your peers. Actually, that's not entirely accurate. You think you are hyper aware, but really, you have an exaggerated sense of what others are thinking about you, or how much others are thinking about you. And so you take up this much bigger space in the minds of your peers than you actually do. Um, and that leads to some challenges. Particularly you see a lot of overreacting, a lot of oversensitivity, and it's difficult to manage. But that's normal. Seventh grade, or the beginning of adolescence, is really challenging. And when we think about why, one of the biggest reasons is that despite having all these new abilities to perceive, to think, to infer, um, we also have some limitations, and that being mainly your prefrontal cortex, which doesn't develop for another 10, or doesn't fully develop for another 10, 15 years. So although you possess all these abilities to think more cleverly and to think deeply about things, you also don't possess the same level of ability to control your impulses, to plan, to organize, to regulate some thoughts. And this kind of means that you're at the mercy of making some poor decisions, and especially, as I was saying, poor decisions despite having the ability to get yourself into some deeper thoughts. So I think that's a challenge that all parents and teachers face, and all students face who are going through this, is just trying to balance that ability to think with the inability to suppress some maybe not so great ideas. The good news is that people who choose to teach seventh grade are really cut from a different cloth, and they love being in the weeds as kids are developing and trying to figure out who they are. And I'm lucky to call many of them my colleagues. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Meg Fahrenbrook, who is going to share a little bit more about our middle school experience before passing it on to Cassie Nutter, our seventh grade dean.
Hi there, I'm Meg Fahrenbrook, as many of you know, the assistant head of middle school and sixth grade history teacher this year. And we are just so excited to get to chat with you a little bit about what to expect in seventh grade next year as your students are moving into that second half of middle school. And, it's hard to believe that the class of 2026 is already finished with 2 years of middle school. It's just how time flies. And we really do consider seventh and eighth grade our upperclassmen of the middle school, as they've got the experience of 2 years of living this life together. They know the rules, the expectations, the rhythm of the day. They know the teachers, and they're feeling really confident and comfortable. And it's exciting to watch them move into seventh grade because there is an added level of maturity that they carry themselves with, and it's always fun to see that. So we are excited to get to have them step into some more leadership for us as they are now considered the upperclassmen. And when I think about student culture at ESD in our middle school, it's really all about providing our students with opportunities to grow and to challenge themselves in a place that is safe and in a place where they are known. And whether it's before school, grabbing breakfast with friends, grabbing breakfast with a teacher, or maybe meeting with a teacher or playing gaga ball, or whether it's in the hallways with friends, or if it's talking with a teacher about starting their own club, these are all ways that our students are learning to step into who they are and kind of taking some control and responsibility and agency in their life. And that feeling of agency is really important, especially for our seventh graders. And so we want and are looking for ways to give students the opportunity to start their own clubs, to plan an event for the entire middle school or for an advisory or for a younger grade. And I just have some photos here that kind of speak to some of that sense of culture that we have at ESD in our middle school. It's the sense of belonging, of being known, having fun together, and also a good little friendly competition with our dodgeball tournament that we had earlier this year. So do know that as our students move into seventh grade, we are excited about what they want to bring to the middle school and want to encourage them and give them a platform to take more leadership. And we are looking for ways to do that and love hearing it when the kids come to us with ideas. We have 2 clubs this year that came to us because students wanted them to start. And I love that. We need more of that for our students.
Hi, I'm Cassie Nutter, the 7th grade dean, and I would like to introduce you to the 7th grade team. Leo Arango teaches 7th grade Spanish. Brenda Hatter teaches 5th through 8th grade sculpture. I teach 5th through 8th grade computer science. Judy Dominic teaches 7th grade English. Darla Hodge teaches 5th and 7th grade math. Ron Franklin teaches 7th and 8th grade history. Sarah Havens teaches 7th grade English and history. And Carson Crook teaches 7th grade science. So I wanted to talk to you about expectations and keys to success in the 7th grade. So there's a big leap between 6th and 7th grade, and it's the beginning of the transition to upper school is what 7th grade is. It's the first step in that transition, and our goal as 7th grade teachers is to help give the kids skills that will make that transition as easy as possible. There's no language lab in 6th grade, so all students are required to take a world language. Plus, the addition of the sports makes it a lot harder because it extends the school day till about 4:15, 4:30. As we ease into the beginning of the 7th grade year, advisors spend a lot of time helping students understand the expectations around being prepared for class, staying organized, being your own advocate, and reaching out to your teachers when you have a question or concern. So that's not always easy for kids, but we as the 7th grade team spend a lot of time helping kids figure out how to compose those emails, or even doing a little role playing with them, because it's not easy for a kid to walk up to somebody they don't know and ask questions. It's just not a comfortable thing. So we work with them to get them to where they take on that position instead of us having to do it for them or their parents. We really do push the independence and the self-advocacy in 7th grade. One of the things that I do every year at the end of the year is I ask the 7th graders, okay, if you could go back in time and give advice to your 6th grade self, what advice would you give yourself about 7th grade? And overwhelmingly, the answers I get are always staying organized. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Go see your teachers and make sure you're checking Schoology and your emails on a regular basis, because that's how teachers communicate with kids, is either Schoology or email. The technology policies in 7th grade are still the same: no cell phones, and all Chromebooks must be school managed. If a kid brings a Chromebook that's not school managed, we will have to get that replaced with the school managed one. It has to do with the softwares that we push out to the Chromebooks, mainly our lockdown browser, which we use during online exams, and also our ERB testing is all done on a school managed Chromebook. So we do ask that they're all school managed. If you have any questions about Chromebooks, please email me. I will be happy to help you. Another big step in 6th grade, from 6th grade to 7th grade, are exams. We do exams at the end of 7th grade. Well, we do 2 to 3 in December and 3 to 4 in May. They're meant for educational purposes. It truly is about learning. The tests are only an hour long or an hour and a half for extended time students. But really our goal is to familiarize the kids with what that whole process is like. How do I study for an exam? How is that different than studying for a regular exam? You know, I have to sit in a proctored room and it has to be quiet and all of those things. So we're just trying to familiarize them with that whole process. Also, we take several trips in 7th grade. Camp Champions is the big one that is in the fall. We go down to Camp Champions, which is near Marble Falls, Texas. We stay for 3 nights. We'll leave on a Tuesday before school and be back on a Friday afternoon. It's really my favorite trip of the year because it's interesting. I like to see kids in uncomfortable situations, and I like for them to see their teachers in uncomfortable situations, meaning, you know, climbing a rock wall or hiking up Enchanted Rock, or, you know, climbing up on the top of a pole and jumping off. Those are uncomfortable for all of us, and I think it's really good that we teachers model those scary things for the kids. And they get to work together in groups to complete tasks, which I think is another really good leadership skill. It's actually one of my favorite things. I really feel like we come together as a grade and as a group at Camp Champions, so I look forward to it every single year. We also do a community service trip where we take the kids to see the play Christmas Carol. We watch the play in the morning, and then in the afternoon we divide up into various groups and go out into the city and perform community service in several different areas around Dallas. And then also the outdoor ed trip next year is going to be a bit different than this year. Mr. Felder will explain all of that to you when he does his bit on here. But I think what I really want you guys to know is that I'm very passionate about 7th grade. I totally get that it is, for many students, it is the hardest grade of middle school, the hardest year. And so I understand that, I get that, and I am here for you or your student or whatever you need from me. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
My name is Davis Felder, and I'm the Assistant Director of Outdoor Education at ESD and also an alum, class of 2006. The purpose of this portion of the slideshow is to describe the outdoor education program in the middle school, as well as detail the 7th grade trip. All of the class trips in the middle school feature outdoor ed programming. The outdoor ed program supports the mission of the school and is driven by our founding tenets. The program creates opportunities for students to make connections between outdoor education and their classroom learning experiences through place-based experiential learning. Programming features a reflection component, daily chapel, individual journals, and small group sharing around a campfire. We consider what we do and how it impacts those around us. The outdoor ed program in the middle school features a progression. Our trips are built around a progression of skills that students learn, practice, and master throughout the middle school. Students at ESD learn how to camp outside in a tent in various types of weather and locations. We camp at Wolf Run, Texas state parks, national parks, and ultimately in the mountains of Colorado. The trips provide a structured and safe environment for children to face and overcome challenges and take risks. We want to develop children's confidence and leadership, which will serve them their whole. The 7th grade trip features an overnight to the Davy Crockett National Forest. Half of the class will travel by bus to a national recreation trail and hike in small groups to their campsite. Groups of 10 to 12 students will set up camp, cook dinner, enjoy games around a campfire, and do some stargazing. In the morning, we will break camp, go for a small hike, and head back home. The second half of the 7th grade will head out the following day.
All right, on to course selection. There are a couple of differences in 7th grade that we're going to go over, but in general, all students will take math, science, history, English, and a world language. There's then the elective period where they'll have some choice about what classes they take, and then there's the athletic period where they will choose a sport or a PE class, and that is what Coach Gomez will talk to you all about. But in terms of language, what's different is that it will no longer be split with the religion class, so it's going to be fully dedicated to that language. And something that's important to know is that your student will choose the language in 7th grade, and he or she will take that same language in 8th grade. When the students get to 9th grade, they will be able to begin level 2 of that language. So we split the level 1 of Spanish, French, or Latin over the course of 7th and 8th grade, so then they're able to start level 2 of the language in high school. Now, if a student wants to switch in 9th grade, are they allowed to? They are, yes. They can choose to go into level 1 of a different language. Most students, however, do choose to continue on with the language that they took in 7th and 8th grade. As far as what language they can take, they can continue on with the language that they've been taking in 5th and 6th grade, or they can switch. And an additional language that is added as a choice in 7th and 8th grade is French. You'll notice on the form that I send to you that it will also have a question about interest level in either Chinese or Arabic. If we find that there's a significant interest in either one of those languages, we have the potential of being able to offer a course for students in that language. So that is why you will see that question there. So to review, your student needs to choose between French, Latin, or Spanish, and needs to understand that that language will be the language that he or she takes 7th and 8th grade and then can take level 2 of in 9th grade. So it is going to be important for you all to sit down and talk through this so that the student is motivated, excited, and gets to choose the language that he or she is excited about and passionate about. Our department chair for the world languages is Jennifer Jarnigan, and she could answer any questions that you might have about curriculum and what to expect in the different courses. So do feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions. The difference with fine arts and computer science in 7th and 8th grade compared to 5th and 6th is that it's no longer based on quarters, it's going to be by semester. So your student will get to choose a fall semester elective as well as a spring semester elective. Some of our electives do have a year-long option, and those will be clearly noted on the form. Along with the email that I send you, I'll also attach a document that describes each of the different fine arts and computer science electives. I will say that what's exciting about 7th grade is that we do offer robotics programming in the fall, and that allows the students to participate in the competition that is in, I think, like November, which is super exciting. They really enjoy that. So do talk to your children about that. Math placement is going to be determined by the math department, so you will hear more about that from Maggie Ferris, who's the department chair. And just so you know, you will be getting, I will be sending a form to your students, and that's where they'll make their language choice as well as their elective choices. And we are asking that you get all of those selections in by May 1st. As always, I'm here to answer any questions, so please feel free to send me an email with any questions. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maggie Ferris, and I am the math department chair. And I'm here to let you know about what math course your child will be taking next year in 7th grade. So the general rule is that if they are currently in 6th grade math, they will take pre-algebra in 7th grade. If they are currently in 6th grade math applications, they will take honors pre-algebra in 7th grade. And if they are currently in 6th grade honors pre-algebra, they will take honors algebra 1 in 7th grade. Their current teachers will be making these placement decisions, and you will be notified about the placement in the coming weeks. Okay, on this slide, we have the path of high school students beginning with algebra 1. So some students will take algebra 1 in 7th grade, some will take it in 8th grade, and some will take it in 9th grade. And so we don't have grades on here because it depends on when you start algebra 1, what the rest of your math career will look like. You can see that we do have opportunities for students to move from, say for example, from geometry to honors algebra 2. We do recognize that students develop at different rates, and we do give students the opportunity to apply for honors level math classes in the spring of each school year, and that's in the upper school. But we have a path for everyone. I think math is not everybody's strength, and we work really hard to meet our students where they are. For most students, they will be taking calculus before they graduate from ESD. And you can see, even if a student is not in honors, say they take algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, they can still apply to be in AP Calculus AB their senior year. And that is one of the courses that I teach. I have a lot of students who are very successful who have come from that math path. If you have any questions about placement or about any of the information I've shared with you today, please feel free to send me an email. It is ferrism@esdallas.org. And I hope everyone is staying well and staying healthy.
Hello, middle school friends and families. I'm Laura Gomez, the middle school athletic coordinator at ESD. As you can see from the slide, we have several wonderful sports options for your students. All of our teams listed have ESD hired coaches, team uniforms, and practice and game schedules coordinated by the school. Our teams will compete both locally and in the greater DFW area, with transportation provided by ESD to away competitions. Daily practices are during F period from 2:35 to 4, with the exception of day 7. While we don't practice on day 7, there still might be games after school. Athletes will wear their PE uniform to practices with any sport-specific equipment such as goggles, mouth guards, or shin guards. All game uniforms will be issued by the school but must be returned at the end of the season. Most teams will have 1 to 2 games per week, and schedules will be available on the ESD website under the Athletics tab. Since things change rapidly in the world of athletics, our coaches communicate weekly with players and parents via email. These weekly emails will give game details, practice details, and any transportation details that would be needed for that week. I'd like to also note that while we strive to provide all of our middle school athletes with a meaningful experience, in some sports we do have to manage roster size for safety and space. The sports who have mandatory tryouts are cheerleading, golf, and tennis. If an athlete tries out and isn't selected for the roster, they can move into PE or another sport that does not use the roster management system. Also, please be aware that all middle school students must take either a sport or physical education. Exemptions only apply to upper school athletics. There's a couple of dates I'd like to bring to your attention, as well as they are early in August before school starts. If your athlete would like to participate on the football team, they need to be back by August 12th. Football will start on August 12th. And if your athlete would like to be a part of our cheerleading program, they need to attend the mandatory tryout August 11th through the 13th. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me at gomezl@esdallas.org. or reach out to one of our program directors with sports-specific questions. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Jones. I'm the middle school learning specialist, and I just want to provide a brief overview of what learning support looks like in the middle school. Part of what I do is I manage the accommodations for students with diagnosed learning differences, whether that be directly in my learning lab classes, or indirectly through collaboration with teachers and counselors on individual students and how we can support them. My message to you is if you have any questions or concerns about your child's learning, please reach out to me first, and I'd be happy to work with you and guide you and point you in the right direction. Thank you.
Hi, so we wanted to talk to you about emotional wellness in middle school, particularly in 7th grade, and some of the things that we offer, generally for the entire middle school, but also as it specifically pertains to 7th grade. So that's me on the left. I'm Maricela Aquino. I have my licensed master in social work, and I work primarily with students whose last names begin with M through Z.
And I'm Amanda Sherman. I'm an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, and I work with students last name A through L.
So here are the services that we, provide for all middle schoolers. So first, we provide direct short-term counseling. For 7th grade in particular, academically, this can be one of the years where really the training wheels start to fall off a little bit. Our students are much more independent, and the rigor is higher, and are really, there's a greater sense of responsibility in terms of being in charge of their own learning, their own assignments and things like that. And naturally, as students adjust to this, there can be a fair amount of stress and anxiety. So that's something that we can certainly meet with students about. 7th grade is also usually when, social ties, social dramas, friendships, that can only, continue to intensify. Sometimes that's for the better, and sometimes there's conflicts there. So that's something that we also frequently see with 7th graders. Amanda and I are certainly available for any crisis intervention if, socially, academically, anything like that. If there is a rough moment that occurs in school where there is, some type of emotional escalation, Amanda and I are there for support immediately at school. We also serve as a liaison between ESD and any outside professionals that your child might be seeing. So that might be a psychiatrist or, any outside mental health therapists or anything like that. We also facilitate the Addressing Behaviors of Concern, or the ABC team meetings, which Amanda will talk about in just a minute. And we're also available to consult with faculty and administration. Of course, with paramount respect to, privacy and confidentiality. As counselors, we kind of are frequently are a touch point in sharing appropriate information, between parents, faculty, administration, again, outside mental health professionals, if that's appropriate. And I think likewise, we get a lot of our student referrals, from faculty and administration. And, that kind of starts the process of us either contacting parents or the students directly. We also provide social emotional programming throughout middle school, and particularly in 7th grade, which again, Amanda will talk about in just a minute.
So as Maricela mentioned, we do get a lot of our referrals for students through consultation with faculty and administration. Where this happens primarily is in our ABC team meeting. So the ABC team meets twice a month, and this is an opportunity for grade level leads and administration and counselors and the team to get around the table and to discuss students of concern where there's been a marked change in either academics or behavior. The ABC team exists across all 3 divisions, and in middle school, we really value this time to get this team together and to discuss appropriate interventions and support for students. As I mentioned, this is probably where our greatest source of referrals come from. And this is just a really great opportunity for the appropriate people to get around the room and to talk about students of concern. Should your student ever be brought up in ABC, that is always communicated with you as the parent. And really, it's just something that we value, that we stick to on our schedule and really prioritize, because this is just such a great opportunity for all of us to connect in support of your students.
So some of the social emotional programming that we have at ESD is freedom from chemical dependency. This programming in 7th grade looks similar to what it was for your students in 5th and 6th grade. So when the FCD team comes to ESD in the fall, as 7th graders, your students will receive a grade level assembly that will kind of continue the education that they received in both 5th and 6th grade.
Additionally, some programming that happens for our students in 8th grade, your student can look forward to a program that is done through the Suicide and Crisis Center of North Texas, where we do a mental health screening for our 8th graders. Specifically for 7th graders, we incorporate a building boundaries speaker into the school year. This speaker comes and presents on healthy relationships and boundaries in friendships and relationships. Additionally, the emotional wellness counselors partner with the PE staff and coaches to roll out our health units. Historically, these units have happened at the end of the school year. However, what we've realized is that the topics that we cover, including stress and anxiety, peer relationships, again, boundaries and relationships. The material is really important, and the tools and the coping strategies that we discuss in these units is really pertinent, and it can be more utilized earlier and throughout the school year. So in the future, we look to kind of spread these lessons out over the year. Historically, they've happened, as I mentioned, at the end of the year when sports are over, but before the end of the school year concludes. And so as a 7th grader, your students can look forward to more opportunities to have these discussions throughout the year. That's a little bit about what we do as counselors. Again, should you have any questions about the services that we provide to your students, Maricela and I are both available via email, or you're welcome to give us a call. We look forward to welcoming your students both back to school and into 7th grade next year.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us for this reimagined way of having a move-up meeting. This is the first part of 2 parts. So this is the recorded part. And in a couple days, check the link below. In a couple days, we're going to host a live question and answer webinar. So if you have questions that you know already and you'd like to submit those, there should be information below on how to submit those. Otherwise, just bring them with you to the live webinar. We will record that as well and put that or link to that in this same page where this is found, in case you can't make it. But anyway, thank you. Looking forward to a great 7th grade year for the class of 2026. Go Eagles.